Hi friends, it's Cassie. Welcome back to another video here on my YouTube channel. Today is a collaboration between Pearblossom Press and Picket Studios, and I'm really excited for this one. We'll talk a little bit more about it, but let's talk about the products that we're using first. We're going to be using the Easy Light today. I love these. If you've watched me at all, you know I've used plenty of those. We're also going to be using this adorable little stamp set by Pearblossom Press, some sentiment stock because you guys know I love that, and then this stamp set from Picket Studios is You or Wi-Fi. I just loved it and instantly had an idea to light it up. We also have the matching die to go along with it, and we're going to do something cool with that also. And then we have this stencil called Inner Glow A2 stencil, and this one's going to be subtle on there, but it looks good. We're also going to be using the brand new pint size paper pouncers. I had never used the paper pouncers before, but now I feel like I need the big ones because these are very cool. We'll talk about those as we use them as well. So to get started, we are going to stamp out our image. We have a piece of Express It cardstock in my Mini Misty that measures 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. That's an A2 sized card front. I've inked up my You or Wi-Fi stamp with some ink on 3 blackout ink because those go well with alcohol markers. We're going to ink this up a few times to make sure that I have that stamped really well, and then we will get started with our coloring. And I'm going to actually bring in my Copic markers today. I know I've been really focusing on my Olo markers. They're both alcohol markers, but today I just grabbed my Copics, and I use them also, but not as much in my videos as I have been in the past. They basically work the same. I have just been a little disappointed with how my Copics seem to be drying out, and you know, they're not cheap markers. So on this, we are going to be doing a variety of techniques with our alcohol markers. We're going to be doing some feathering and blending, and we're also going to be using some stippling. Because this is sand, I definitely wanted to bring in some stippling, and I'm just putting my shadowing where I think that shadowing might be. Obviously, I don't have a real light source here. I will once I put the lights on, and it'll make a little bit more sense then. I've put my colors up on the screen the best I could. Some of my markers are Chow and some of them are Sketch. So the Sketch ones will go up on the screen, and the Chow ones probably not unless you actually just see it off to the side. So here I'm doing some of that stippling, and I'm not going real crazy with it. I did that with my darkest color, coming back in with my E23 that I did some feathering with. And then I'm actually going to come back in with that E55 and do the same thing. We'll do some stippling. We're also going to be doing some feathering with that as well. It looks a little funny right now, but once we are finished, I think the end product looks pretty good. So a little more feathering here and there. But when you do the stippling over those darker ones, it just kind of blends them out a little bit, and you don't have to go real crazy with your stippling. Less is always more. You can put more down, but you can't always take it away. So I try to be a little bit more conservative with my darker colors. You can always come back in and add more if you'd like. And then we're going to finish up there pretty soon. I'm going to increase the speed of the coloring to be about 4 times here pretty soon. Right now you're seeing it double time, but we will speed it up to 4 times as much simply because this will be a long video otherwise. And this is a video hop, and I know you want to hop along and check out what everybody else has been doing for this collaboration. I love it when companies collaborate together, but because I bet if you look through your craft room right now, your craft room has an array of different companies in there. You probably don't just have one company's worth of stamps and dies and papers and inks and everything else. So I love it when companies get together and collaborate because it shows you wonderful ways to use your products together, which these two, I feel like, are obviously, well, lights with any product are a match made in heaven, but this one in particular, I knew right away when I saw this stamp set that I wanted to make it light up. All right, so we are, continuing on with our coloring of our little shack on there, and then we're going to add in the water, and you'll notice I'm just doing that water all across the bottom, and I'll bring in just another color, and then we'll blend that out a little bit more, and then our coloring is going to be done. Then we're going to bring in that matching die, and we're going to do some partial die cutting. And I've done this before on my channel. It's actually really quite simple, but it's a really cool effect. So we'll bring in that matching die, and we'll tack that down with a little bit of mint tape just to secure it in place. And then I'm going to do that partial die cutting right at the edge where the water would be. So what that means is I'll take my plate, and my plate has to cover the area I want to cut and not cover the area that I don't want cutting. So I'm going to put it right up along that edge. And this is where we'll run that through our die cutting machine. So that's how that's going to look. It cuts just the top. There's one tiny portion where it didn't cut through, and that's just because the die didn't reach all the way to the end. But easy fix, we'll just grab our scissors and we will trim that off. And then we have this really cool part, you know, that we've got all colored up and ready to go. Check that out. Looks good. All right, now I want to work on the background. So this is where our little paper pouncers are going to come in. So I've put this on another piece of A2 cardstock, and I'm just marking, you could completely avoid this if you wanted, but I'm just marking with a pencil where I want the color to kind of stop. That way I don't have to go all the way to the bottom. And these little these pint-sized paper pouncers are really, really cool. They have their own little holder. They've got, you know, a cap for it. And if you've never, they're so soft. And it's different. These are very different than using a blender. You're not going to blend your ink. You are going to do just what it says. You're going to pounce that color. And it might give you a little bit different look, but I'm telling you, I love the look of it. It's different. That's why you can't say that it's the same as ink blending, because it just isn't. All I'm doing is picking up that color, which in this case, some of that color is the Remember Me from Simon Hurley Create, and I'm pouncing that color on top and bringing that down. And then the next colors you can see is that Minty Fresh. That's going to go underneath. I love that there are different colors. You know, they're marked, like this is a turquoise. So I can use this turquoise on our Minty Fresh. Just pick up that color and pounce that in between and get that to blend. This was a super fun process. I do have this sped up about 2 times. So we went back to 2 times our speed here, down from the 4 times from our coloring. But I'm just going to pounce that color down a little bit further, and then we're going to bring in some other colors. I want this to look like a sunset back there. I'll keep the Minty Fresh out because I will need that again, but we'll blend up that color a little bit more at the top. I want it to be a little bit darker. And so far it's looking pretty good. All right, so I do need to wipe it off because I did get some of that color on my mat. And this is where we'll bring in our next color, which is called Rosy Cheeks. It's a light pink color. And we're going to pounce that over a little bit of the Minty Fresh and heading down further into our piece. Now pouncing, I could have blended it out even more, but I do like the pounced look of this. It almost looks like we do have some clouds back there, which is super fun. And it's going to look even better once we have the whole piece put together. So bring in our Minty Fresh and blend some more of that Rosy Cheeks and Minty Fresh together. It looks good. Our final color is going to be an orangish color. That's where that glow is going to come in, and that's going to be our guppy. And so I'll keep out the Rosy Cheeks because I'll need that one again. But again, I'm only going to go down as far as my pencil lines, maybe just a little bit further beyond that, because we just don't need to go any further. And just using that pouncing motion. So then we'll come back in with that Rosy Cheeks, blend that out, and then we'll be done with this background. I didn't do any splatter. I didn't feel like we needed to. So now when I bring in the piece, you can see what a cool sunset background that looks like. So we'll pick everything up. I am going to bring in that stencil, so I'm taking my piece and we're just going to tape it to the back. And this is going to be really, really subtle. I am using some Shark Tooth by Ink on 3, where I'll bring in another pouncer. This one is one of those neutral color pouncers that I had off to the side. It came in a pack of 3. And I'll just pounce that white through there. Again, it's going to be nice and subtle because the colors on that background are already a fairly light color. I think it would have been cool to bring in some of the Luxe glazes that Picket Fence Studio has, but I just decided I really didn't want to do that this time around. But next time. So you can see that stencil is there. It's just nice and subtle. So now we get into using the actual Easy Light. So I'm going to take one of my batteries, peel off or pop off one of the mechanisms, put everything back in their case, and then to put these together, you just take your battery, line up the plus sign with the plus sign, bada bing, bada boom, and you have light. Isn't that fun? All right, I've made tons of light up cars. I have a whole a whole folder of them, basically. A playlist, there you go, playlist of light up cards back on my channel. So you can always head back there if you'd like to see some more. And because there's a lot. I do like the light up cards. It's one of my very favorite ways to have an interactive card. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a little bit of washi tape, put those lights where I want them, and I basically want them like right up against the top. That light might even poke through a little bit, but you can't really see it. And that's my big concern, is just putting those lights where I want those lights, almost like the sun is shining through the background. And so there you can see. And now all I have to do is take the wires and just kind of make sure that they are in place. I know some people do a really good job of making them look pretty back there. That's not a concern for me because nobody's looking back there. So mine never looks pretty. Mine always looks like a hot mess express back there, which is fine. And so the next thing I need to do is put some double-sided adhesive on my mechanism, and then I can put it where I want it. It's not stuck down by any means. And I'm going to bring in the world's greatest foam tape. So this stuff is basically what it says. It's the world's best foam tape. And it's a double thickness. It works perfect for not only your light up cards, but your shakers as well. And it's repositionable. So this stuff is fabulous. I absolutely love this stuff. As you can see, I have covered that back with the rest of the foam tape everywhere that it needed to be. I'm going to take off all the release paper for these, and then I'm just going to stick this down on top. Now, if I hadn't put that where I wanted it to go, what makes this great is that tape, the foam tape, is repositionable for a small amount of time, which is great. So next up, we need our sentiments. So I've got in the black sentiment stock, and we've covered that with some anti-static powder tool. And what makes this stuff so great is that it is super smooth. So it doesn't leave any spot for, as long as you use an anti-static powder tool, it doesn't really leave a spot for the embossing powder to stick in places it shouldn't. So I've got the It's Your Birthday, Let's Run Away. And then I'm going to bring in this Pearblossom Press stamp because I would need the push. I like this little stamp set because it has press here, push, pull. It has a lot of little interactive sentiments in there, which makes it great. So heat that till it's smooth and melted. And then we're going to wipe away that anti-static powder tool. You can see there's no powder where there shouldn't be. And so I'm going to put this in my guillotine trimmer, and we're going to trim both of these down so that we can put those on top of our panel. Trimming this one down because that's going to go on that upper left hand corner. We're going to put a little diagonal edge on that spot, and then the push will be trimmed down as well. Using liquid glue, we'll attach down the push. I really like doing the push on different pieces of paper so that it, one, makes it stand out, and two, I put it exactly where I need it to go. And so then we've got that all framed out. My base measured 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches and was scored at 4 1/4 inches, and I did stamp on the inside. We could eat and drink rum. Love it. And then we'll attach that down to our card base, and then that's going to finish off this card. I love, love, love how this turned out. Like I said, this is a part of a video hop. Head on down to my description box where you can check out where you're supposed to hop next. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.